To the Grafton Select Board meeting for December 14th at 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First up, please, I'd like everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just one brief announcement for tonight. I'd like to, and I'd like the rest of the board to weigh in here for this one, but I just wanted to personally thank everyone who works here for the town of Grafton, from here at the Municipal Center. The amount of work that goes into the day-to-day operations, given the climate and the situation, is very challenging. In every department I've seen, and I hope the rest of the board can weigh in on this as well, the amazing work that this entire town does, from everyone here in the Municipal Center, the DPW department, police, fire, people who work in the wastewater treatment, cemetery and parks, as well as recreation. Without these departments, Grafton wouldn't have the things that we have today, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. As we're coming into the holiday season, I would hope that they get a bit of respite and some time for their families and loved ones, and we just wanted to appreciate their work and their effort. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll add to that. Thank you, Peter, for bringing this up. I read the weekly report this week, and I was just astounded by the amount of work and effort that goes into every single department. I'm reading down the number of police calls that were answered, to the planning department working on multiple things. As we know, the fire department, we've met with them a few times, are doing a lot for this community, stepping up for this community. Recreation, I mean, across the board. As I was reading, I was just really impressed with the amount of work. And Candy, you're here too. The town clerk's office, sorry, I'm not naming them all individually. It's just, it takes a lot to run this town, to run a municipality in general, and I think we all need to be reminded of that sometimes, including those of us who sit here. I'm just really grateful and appreciative of all the work that staff is doing, including the town administrator's office. So thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who wanted to know what report that we're referring to, at the end of every week, or for most weeks when time permits, there is a weekly report of what's going on in Grafton. And for those of you who are watching, if you would go to the Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov and scroll down along the left side of the menu, and you'll find something called the Town Administrator Weekly Reports. This is a compiled report that Doreen is referring to, and I urge everyone here in town to read that, and you can see for yourself. Thank you. All right, is there anyone from the public comments that would like to speak? Anyone from the Zoom webinar?
Nope.
Okay. First up is we have Shop Grafton. We have John Allen, our Economic Development Coordinator. Is John with us tonight?
Yep, he's with us.
Yes, I am.
Hey, good evening, John. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Very well.
Good.
Thank
Hey,
you
John.
for making it out tonight. Well, being on Zoom, I should say. But I know you wanted to come here and talk with Shop Grafton.
Yes, thank you for having me. We're having Shop Grafton for our third season this year. Based on the feedback of the stores, people are being very supportive. I'd like to encourage people to shop locally. This has a lot to do with supporting our community. The money spent in our community, a large percentage of it stays within our community. And this year, if you get your card stamped like prior years, you can get a $100 gift certificate to the restaurant or store of your choice in Grafton.
Excellent. Any questions, Dory?
Yeah, just, John, thank you for that update. I just want to know where people can find a list of stores that are participating in this.
The list of stores are online at shopgraftonma.com, as well as there's brochures that are around town that have the stores that are available.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Comments? All right, John, anything we can do to help spread the word?
Nope, I appreciate your support and thank you, and I look forward to presenting some information to you in the future.
That's great. Thank you very much for coming in and giving us an update on that. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, next up on our schedule, we have the town clerk, Candy LaValle, here to talk about a few components here: electioneering policy, disaster plan for elections, and reestablishment of the Boston Post-Cane. Good evening, Candy. How are you?
Ooh. Fitting everything in all at once, so. All right, so first thing, we'll do the not so fun stuff and then we'll get to the fun thing. So the first thing I wanted to bring to your attention to hopefully implement is an electioneering policy. Most towns are doing this nowadays just because there's a lot of early voting that's happening. Absentee voting always happens in the office. So this just establishes some of the rules that would happen on on election day for town hall, because that's where we generally have it. So like the 150-foot rule, where they can't have any campaigning and whatnot near the doors. It's relatively in the gym. So for early voting, and then our office would be absentee voting. So I just drafted up what most towns are using as a policy, and hopefully you don't have any questions. If you do, I'll try to answer them. It's pretty straightforward, and it's just something to go in effect because I don't think early voting is going away.
Okay. Any questions for Candy?
No, thank you for putting that together and everything else that you're here for tonight.
Well, thank you. I just think it's time, to do some of those. So I think Cindy said she did print a copy for you. I printed one as well. So if you need one, I have one. And then,
Just before we move on,
Yeah.
Kenny, the board will need to vote to adopt.
yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let me just pull that up. I'm sorry. 1 second, Candy. I
Sure.
apologize. I pulled up the wrong packet. Here we go. So, with us tonight, we have to take some action, or we're being asked to take some action from Candy with regards to electioneering policies as she's presented. Does anyone have any questions before we entertain a motion?
Just one question. So as I'm reading this, it refers to 30 Providence Road.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a place at Millbury Street. Is that mentioned as well?
So that's on election day. Those already are in place for the polling locations.
They
This
are.
is just for here.
I see.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for Candy? All right, at this time, if the board would like, I'll entertain a motion.
So I move the board vote to approve the electioneering policy as presented by the town clerk and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on the motion?
You actually all sign it.
I amend the motion to be that we all sign it.
Second.
All right, okay, we'll all sign it.
Okay.
Motion made seconded for simplicity purposes. Any discussion on that motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, declare motion carried unanimous. All right, thank you.
All right. Second one, disaster policy. So, most towns have been looking into, obviously, disasters, anything that can happen with the pandemic. I think this has brought up a lot of people just looking into what we have going on. I do have to say, back in 2010, we have a very generic evacuation guideline that we've already passed, that we follow. But I went through, after reading some other towns, what they had, figured we needed a more robust policy and kind of outline, if we had to evacuate, where are people going to meet? You know, what should be done? So this is literally what that is. I did send it off to everybody that's on here. So the chief of police, public works, superintendent of school, fire chief, emergency management, and Kathy Cedarberg was the only one that gave like a couple of suggestions, which I did update. But other than that, nobody else had anything to add, and they were fine with it. But yeah, that's basically what this is. And like I said, this is something that's pretty much just updating what we already had in 2010.
Great. Any questions for Candy?
Just a comment. I really appreciate the, you know, the different levels of protocols that would happen and things spelled out depending on the severity of the emergency. So well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Candy? Candy, it's pretty thorough. Thank you for updating and bringing it to our attention. Appreciate the work that you put into this as well. All right, if there is no further questions from the board, I can entertain a motion to accept and sign this policy.
I move the board vote to approve the updated disaster plan as presented by the town clerk.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried.
Did we not do it right again?
No, that one is the one that the chair signs. It's
I'll
fine.
amend
It's-
my motion
don't,
to also authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We'll all just initial it.
Okay.
It's done. So you're gonna have a lot of autographs. Okay. And last but not least,
Okay, well that was easy. I thought there was going to be more to them.
this is gonna be the
All right.
exciting part.
So yes, the fun stuff. So I think a couple months back I met with Evan, and I was like, just sometimes you need to have some fun stuff with all this dry and not so fun stuff. And I was reading, something came up about the Boston Post cane, which obviously every town at one point did have. We don't know where our original went, but I was like, this is something we should do. I mean, it's a great way to honor the oldest citizen in Grafton. It's a little fun. So I went back and actually reached out to the Historical Society to see if there was any information they could provide too, like in past years. And unfortunately, they couldn't find anything. I tried looking, couldn't find much either. So it's reestablishing it, but also kind of brand new because we have no prior information. But what we did is we bought a cane, which we had engraved that just says oldest citizen of Grafton, which after meeting with Barb as well, Barb, Evan, and I kind of had like a little mini group and talked about it to figure out how we wanted to do this, what was the best way. And we feel keeping the cane in town hall will make it so that it won't be lost. But we want to obviously make sure that the person is recognized. So we met and figured out the criteria, which they'd have to be a citizen for a resident rather, for 5 years in town. And that's based off of our census data, which I can look up in the system. So we do have a list, and there is a person that currently is the oldest person that we will not name right now, but as of right now, they are 101, I believe it is, years old. And what we would do is at a meeting of your choice, you kind of honor this person. Evan's going to purchase some lapel pins if he hasn't already. Maybe give him a certificate and, take a picture and get a plaque. Maybe, I don't know if we just are we going to do the plaque? I can't remember what their name.
We didn't
I can't
discuss that.
remember that. So
But
maybe
we-
I thought of that and just,
And you could do something like
Okay.
that.
Will you add their names?
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah.
Too.
And then I started drafting up something on the website too that we can recognize them, put their names and like past winners. Obviously, this isn't going to take up too much time. I think maybe a couple times a year you'd have to do it, if that. And we figured that us establishing who it is easier than having people recommend names and whatnot. So that's what we have, and I can pass this around if you want to just look at it too. So
I know another town just did an article about this I think last week, and their residents 107. And I was
yes,
just
it's
blown
incredible.
away.
What?
7.
Wow. Sheesh.
Hopkinton, obviously.
So for the public, it says oldest citizen of Grafton on the top too. Pretty nice.
It is very nice.
And do you get to use it to bonk somebody on the forehead or anything?
Well, it hasn't been in my possession the last
I
couple
know.
weeks, so you might have to ask. But yes,
I can't
we
believe
did
you
have
gave
some
it to the
fun.
board.
Yeah.
It's like a weapon.
Yeah.
Strive to be the holder
come
of
on,
that
Ray.
one day.
Yeah.
That's like a
Let's
goal
see it.
now.
Great.
Oh, no.
I get there before
Gotta be a
you,
full
so.
Mickey
Not
Mantle.
by much.
Want to stand
And
over
then
there?
Sorry.
So that's what I have with that. So we're hoping, the only thing, thank you. The only thing is we're hoping to start this next year. Census form does go out in January, but like I said, this person has been here. I don't see any shift in who that person would be. So, I guess we just gotta figure out how we want to do this, if you're on board with the criteria that we discussed, and figure out when we want to start it.
Sounds good.
I just have one question. Like, is it consistent, like you see in other communities that have something similar, that there's a residency for X amount of years within the community?
So I did look it up, and there's all different things that
Okay.
people were doing, like minimum years. Some were having people fill out forms and to nominate somebody. Some people were looking through senior centers, whoever they knew. So again, it's just based on, what you wanted to establish as a town.
Yeah, and I'll show you why I asked that question. I always feel like when people, the minute people move into this town, they're from Grafton.
Yeah.
Right. And I've often heard, depending upon how long you've lived here and how many generations, it meant you're here more from Grafton. And
Yeah, no.
I just, I personally would like to see just the 5-year thing waived. And if you're a resident of Grafton and you happen to be this person, then so be it. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I can understand where it came into effect because when you get to that age, you tend to live with family. So I could see us having to maybe give it off a lot more often if we're just, as soon as you get here, you're you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe shrink it down a little bit to maybe 2 years or something. 'Cause 5 years does seem like a lot when you're considering the factors at that age, but
What do you mean by that, Colleen?
I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there.
No, you won't.
I think if you've made it to that age, whatever it is,
That's right.
if you live here in town,
Yep.
you deserve it.
Yep.
Okay.
Put the name on the plaque. That's just me. And if we ended up giving it up every 6 months, that's great.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Just me.
I mean, we could send certificates to everybody that's within, over 100
let's
to
pump
recognize
the
it.
brakes now.
Yeah.
Well, no. There's not that many.
You just
I
went
have
from
the
like
list
once
here.
every
We
6
have, like-
months to just like, what's Evan doing? He's just making certificates all
Yeah.
There's maybe 5 people. So I mean, it's really not that many. So
Right.
No, we can.
You know.
I think get it started and see how it rolls
Sounds like
out.
we need to adopt it, and then the logistics will come a little.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
we'll iron out the details.
Okay.
I don't think any of us were married to the 5 years. That's just what was common in
Yeah.
other towns that we had looked at for samples. So
I love it. Love the idea.
happy to wait.
I love this idea too.
Mhm.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're being as inclusive as possible. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, all right. So you need some action from us tonight on a decision to adopt.
Can I make one comment though? Now that I'm thinking of it, so the reason I think why we said the census data is because if they're not on there, then we don't know they're here. So this would gave us another tool too to figure out who actually was in town and was the oldest. So, I mean, there has to be some cutoff on that too. Like if they're listed in the system, unless we don't know they're here, I mean, there's only
Yeah,
so
I mean,
many
I
avenues.
think
So-
we're going to use the official census data to.
Makes sense.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have to have some official record of how to do
Registered
that.
voter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, the
to
census
see it
data,
in there.
if they
Yeah,
don't
a
fill it out and return it, we don't even know they exist
Right.
Right.
in theory. So, I think that makes sense.
Okay. So there's going to be some logistical challenges.
Yes.
But there's not much we can do about that.
Well, they'll get people to fill out their census forms.
There we go.
If you want this lapel pin, you'll fill out that form.
That's what they've been waiting for.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So you need some action from us tonight. You kind of heard our input, and we'll see how it goes. And we have to come back and revisit. Then we'll revisit.
Absolutely.
Okay. I can entertain a motion if anyone else doesn't have any questions or comments.
I move the board vote to approve reestablishing the Boston Post cane tradition.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Good, motion carried unanimous. Thank you,
All
Katie.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Everyone who's worked on
Same to
this.
you.
All right, with the board's permission, I would like to move the Grafton Town trash bag subsidized fees and policy under discussion under A for sanitation, curbside collection, bag fees, municipal solid waste costs. Does anyone have any objections to that?
Nope.
Okay. Next up is we have annual license renewal for 2022. So at our last meeting, we had an opportunity to ask questions. A couple of us did ask some, but everything seems to be in order. And if anyone doesn't have any other questions or comments, we can entertain a motion to either approve or deny the list in front of us. Anyone have any comments, questions? Okay.
Just for clarity, there is two different motions and votes that you need to take to approve or deny, just to be clear.
Okay. Who wants to start with number one?
So I move the board vote to approve the 2022 annual licenses as per the attached list for the following: common victualler, music, pool table, hawkers and peddlers, secondhand, and garage licenses 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declared. Motion carried unanimous.
All right.
Next up.
I move the board vote to approve the 2022 annual liquor license as per attached list for the following: restaurant, wine and malt, restaurant all alcoholic beverages, package store all alcoholic beverages, package store wine and malt, inn holder all alcoholic beverages, and club all alcoholic beverages. Licenses which require a 110 and 304 inspection are contingent upon final approval from the fire department and building department. No liquor license will be issued without an approved certificate of inspection.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declared. Motion passed unanimous. Thank you. All right. Go through that. Next up on our agenda tonight is talk about consideration for setting a tentative special town meeting date. This was something that Evan had alluded to in previous discussions with regards to potential TIF, and there's some other articles that we had discussed about putting on there. So at this point, we had reached out and looked at availability. We don't have to have the special town meeting on a Monday. These can be held really on any day of the week. The only ones that we have to hold on a specific day are what outlined in our bylaws and charter. So moving forward, I asked Evan and the staff to compile a list of possible dates, and if you want to share that with the board and see what the discussion is and see where we want to go with it.
I think, sorry. Do you have the dates right there, Will?
I do not know.
I'm having trouble here.
You sent them to me, right?
Yeah, I believe I did. My computer is not cooperating with me right there.
All right. They said the 21st of January was open.
Yes. Thank you. I just came up with that too. So the 21st of January is open.
There we go. Sorry. Meant to have that in the packet.
Yep.
My bad.
Are those other dates open as well, or
That's a
just-
Friday.
The rehearsals
Friday.
show
That's a Friday.
that is a Friday.
That's date night.
No?
That doesn't work.
All right.
People
Let's.
might think date night is going to town meeting.
Not in my house.
So right now, there's some bookings that are at the Grafton High School auditorium that are on the 7th, 14th, and 28th. Is there another date during January, and then we can work backwards from there? And then
Can we do it
know
on a
when the-
Saturday, Pina?
I'm sorry?
Do it on a Saturday?
We could do it on a Saturday. We could do it really any other day of the week.
I didn't know what else was available. That's all.
I mean, was January 31st available?
I believe it was. Yes.
Yeah.
I like January 31st because I like sticking to a Monday. It's what everybody's going to expect of us. A special's already going to get people kind of, oh wait, what is this? And keeping it to something familiar like a Monday night makes sense to me if it's available. And the later in the month might be helpful to get everybody more time to get everything together.
I like later in the month.
Yeah.
Personally.
What are the items under consideration?
So one is the TIF for 27 Upton, and all the accoutrement of articles that may need to go with that, whether that's zoning or anything else we may need to adopt. And then you had talked about the clerk change, so that would be a potential one, and that's all. That's all I've had.
Oh,
any
there's one
conversation
more. There is the tax write-off program that the town needs to consider adopting.
Oh, that we missed for the fall. Yes,
That's right.
Thank you.
So that seems optimistic to me. The end of January. I know we're not at the end of the year yet, but we need to have an actual TIF agreement, which means the TIF committee has to meet. We have to have resolved all of the issues with the state and DHCD, and that
Yeah.
seems like it would really compress that activity pretty significantly. So I'm on favor, like I'm totally on board with the, a special town meeting, but I just want to make sure that we're ready for it, because obviously there's a cost involved and there's a lot of logistics that go into that, and
Is there something special about January versus February?
January was the timeline that we had thought was reasonable.
Okay, so do you think it's still reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, and what you're doing tonight is you're setting a tentative date so we can book the auditorium and get people moving in a direction. And then depending on the rate at which we're having conversations with DHCD, we may need to adjust that.
Should we
Okay.
book 2 tentative dates then? So we don't lose a spot when we get further along and say, oh, now nothing's available
Yeah, I did not look at dates availability
past
past
January.
January.
Okay.
Alright.
I mean,
so I'm on board with the last day in January. Then it's a Monday. That's good. That'll give everybody as much time as possible for this tentative date.
As long as you don't think changing the date would confuse
we're,
people,
but we
I'd
would
rather avoid that.
right, but we're just setting a tentative date, so we're not calling a special. We're not.
Okay.
We're just agreeing that January 31st looks like a good day to have it, and we'll reach out to the school department, have them hold that day open for us,
Okay.
and then if we've got to make adjustments, we'll call the special town meeting when we're closer to that date.
Sounds
Is that
good.
enough time to make sure the clickers are in working order? You hate that question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Nice, Colleen.
I know.
Now it is.
Yeah, okay. All right. Just making sure.
No, we had planned on doing it in January anyway.
Heads up.
With yeah. Great.
Sorry, Don.
No, so Dave Robbins and Candy and I had already started discussing doing that in January. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
There's a manual.
As long as you separate your
That's for
receivers,
sure,
it's
Evan-
fine.
Evan's
Okay.
Just don't stack the receivers
On top of each other? All right.
That's what I've heard.
Will's writing that down.
There we go.
Receivers.
Separate the receivers. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Like I said, this is just for us to set a tentative date. We'll know more as the weeks progress and we get closer. I like the idea of maybe coming back with a second date, so I think it might be prudent to ask Evan to maybe reach out and look at other dates that may be available later in the month of February. Keep in mind, there's a February vacation break during that week.
For the 21st, yeah, the week of the 21st.
So we might need to make some considerations and concessions around that.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? All right, you don't need any action from us tonight on that, do you?
No, I'll just hold it.
Okay.
I'll just ask Cindy to put us in the list.
Just to be clear, the TIF agreement is the main driving force. If there's no need for that, there's going to be no need to do the other stuff can wait till the spring, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's a board decision to make, but that would be my
Is that
opinion.
where everybody's head's at then? Would you want to hold a special just for the town clerk
That's,
and the
that's how this
tax?
all, that was the genesis of the whole special town meeting, so that's where I was going with it.
Mhm.
And never once had we said, oh, we didn't do this in, at the semi-annual, oh, we should hold a special. So I would say, the way I view my opinion is, the only reason why we were having a special is for the TIF.
Right.
And then anything else that we needed to do, it would be appropriate to bring up. And we thought the tax write-off program was something worthy of bringing forward sooner rather than later, if the opportunity presented itself.
Right.
The clerk thing we just found out about a few weeks ago.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Anybody? All right, we'll set that for a tentative date, and we'll follow up to see if there's a second date in February, just to kind of have that in our back pocket.
Yep.
And we'll update the board as we get closer, all right? Okay, moving on, we don't have any resignations tonight, but we do have some appointments from the select board to consider. So tonight we have guests who have attended our meeting. First up, we are going to talk to two members from the Grafton Fire Department to be a representative from the department on the Fire Chief Search Committee. And with us tonight, we have Captain Rick Lane and Captain Bob Egan. Good evening, everyone. Rick, can you hear us okay on your end?
I can.
Great. Why don't we go alphabetical? Rick, we'll have you go first. And tell us a bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Richard Lane, 19 Ferry Street. I've served on the Grafton Fire Department for the past 48 years, the last 20 as captain. I place my name in consideration to serve on the search committee to find and secure our next chief. Having served under 5 chiefs in my career on the Grafton Fire Department, all promoted from within the department and all town residents, this will be the biggest change the department will ever have gone through. I've been totally involved in this process from the beginning and have been a resource of information as to how the department runs and functions, and the need to remain as one of the best on-call departments in the state. I want to thank this board for allowing the department's command staff to come forward with a plan and for entrusting us to follow this plan in the meantime as Chief Gothy retires. We need to make sure that the incoming chief knows in advance that he will command a well-equipped, well-trained, and dedicated department, that he leads by trust in his staff and by example of a working hands-on chief. As I will be the next senior member forced to retire by state mandated age 65 this coming year, I want to be part of this committee to put on the best candidates forward to this select board for consideration to be our next chief. I'd also like to state or ask of the board to reconsider the makeup of the committee. I was fully in favor of the 5-man committee since the 7-man committee did most of the legwork and most of that's in place. I just feel that the fire department is the big player and the big recipient of this change. It's going to affect us more than anyone. The select board in hand, you get the final say and vote on who's going to be the next chief. We don't. I would like to see us stick to the one select board member and place the 2 captains that have applied for this on this committee, because it does affect all the guys that we command, and it's the biggest change that we'll ever go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Any questions for Rick? Any comments?
That's an interesting point he brings up about updating the charge. And I don't know, is that a conversation the board is willing to have about that or bring back for another agenda?
I think, personally, I think it's an interesting comment. You know, we'd have the 2 senior captains on the committee, and I think it would work out. Rick, I really, that's a great suggestion. And I'd be in favor of it.
Anyone else?
So would we want to do that tonight? Make the swap, change the charge, and then do the appointments?
I'd be in favor of that.
I'd like to move forward tonight with establishing the committee. I'm open to the discussion for sure.
All right. So let's get through this one here first, and let's get through the member at large, and then we'll come back and I guess we'll discuss the the charge.
Okay.
We'll come up with some language that will maybe meet what we want to have happen. We'll make a decision on that tonight, and then we can take action relative, because it's our committee
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Yeah. And this is a search committee, right? So these
Yep.
people are bringing the candidates to us. They're not
Yep.
deciding on the plan.
Yep.
Right. Okay, does everyone agree with that plan?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
great.
it's a great idea, Rick.
Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you.
Thanks for bringing that up. All right, any other questions
You're
for
welcome.
Rick?
Thank
on
you.
Candidacy for fire department rep? Okay. Next up, we have Captain Egan. Yeah, come right up, have a seat. Yes.
How you doing?
Good evening, Bob. How are you?
Good, good.
Thank you for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Well, I'm a 29-year member of the fire department, the last 8 as captain. And Rick just about said it all, so it's a tough act to follow. So, yeah, I just want to have a hand in picking the next chief, because as Ricky says, it's going to be a big change for us. I want to make sure we get the right chief.
Okay. Any questions for Bob?
No, I was wondering how I was going to choose between the two of them, so Rick just made it a little easier for us.
He kind of did. Any other questions for Bob?
Well, Rick, we were gonna give you one of those canes, so, you know.
I'm getting close, Ray, but not as close as you.
You're first. Any other questions or comments for Bob?
No.
All right, thank you for coming in. Bob, I just want to thank you and Rick for your years of service and you're willing to step up. I think it's admirable and I really appreciate your input and, you know, from the meeting the other week, if I haven't said it enough, thank you very much for coming in with those ideas. It really shows this town what our department is made of and the people who are running it and responding. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Okay, the board want to take some action tonight on a fire department representative.
Well, unless we have
I wonder
the
if we should
charge
wait on that.
change, yeah. it's
Let's just,
difficult.
I want to kind of go through this, and I think we'll get to the process, was we'll get to that after we choose the fire department rep and the member at large, and then we'll take the action that we want to after that, and then we can make, once the charge is changed, then we can make the appointment.
Oh, I thought you said let's go through all of the interviews, then change the charge.
Nope,
'cause-
I'm going down
alright.
one at a time. Let's do the fire department rep first. So can I get a motion from someone or a discussion on who they want to choose for the fire department rep?
Shouldn't we change the charge?
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable picking one until we
No.
change
Yeah,
the
let's
charge.
change the charge first, and then,
'Cause-
and then just remove the one member of the board and replace that with, another, member of the fire department.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. We're all
think
leaning
that's it.
towards changing it anyway, so rather than saying, okay, let's pick Bob, let's pick Rick, and then later add the other one, you
We're
know.
gonna get there.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get there. Just please, you know, no one had any problems with what I prescribed. Let's just go through, let's pick the rep, let's just get that done, and then let's get to that part and let's have that discussion. Let's propose the change of the charge after we get through the fire department rep and the member at
Okay.
large.
I think I see where this is all headed. I will make a motion that we appoint Rick Lane to the fire chief search committee.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried unanimous. Thank you, Rick. All right, thank you, Bob. All right, next up, we have a few members for member at large. Tonight, we have Timothy Rodrigue, we have Jim Barker, and we have Mark Haddad. Let's see here. We're going to have come first. We're going to have Jim Barker. Why don't you come on up? Have a seat.
Need that cane.
Jim, you're making old man noises, come on.
Good evening, Jim. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve as a member at large.
Jim Barker, 20 Maple Ave, South Grafton. I'm a retired district chief from the Grafton Fire Department, serving 45 years. I'm also a retired HSE, Environmental Health and Safety Specialist from St. Cobain. I retired after 46 years with various management positions. Having spent 45 years on the fire department, it's in your blood, and you want to see the right stuff done. And I think I would be that person that knows the ins and outs of the fire department's workings. What we need for a chief to continue the call member department. Make sure that decisions are made based on accurate information. And that's about it. I also served on the St. Cobain Emergency Response Team too for 20 years. So I do have some fire background.
Anyone have any questions for Jim?
Thank you for applying.
Yes.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for applying, and again, thank you for your years of service too. I think I attended your retirement
did.
party a couple of years ago. It was a fun time.
Thank you.
All right,
If
thank
it
you.
wasn't for Jim, I wouldn't even be here. He let me
That's
buy his
right.
house.
Yes. Yes. Why don't we have Mark Haddad come up? Mark, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Chairman?
Have a seat, sir.
Thank you for your time tonight. My name's Mark Haddad. I live at 154 Providence Road. For 37 years, I've served as a municipal government manager, and in my role as a manager, I have appointed or recommended the appointment of 3 fire chiefs in my career. I'm responsible for the search of those fire chiefs. I put together search committees like you've done tonight. I put together panels. I put together the assessment centers, and I've gone through the process several times, and I've been very successful in my appointments as fire chief. So I think I can bring that experience to this committee to help you find the right fire chief for Grafton moving forward. I'm also a member of the Grafton Finance Committee, so I understand all the finances here in town, and I was also a member of the search committee that brought that gentleman to town, and I would say so far, our committee was very successful. So I would like to bring that success to this committee and help you find your next fire chief. Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
I was gonna say that's probably not a selling point, Mark.
Yeah.
That's not a selling point. I knew I shouldn't have said that.
Like, so far, so good.
Any questions for Mr. Haddad?
That's great.
Thanks for
Mark.
coming in.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so
having me.
much, Mark.
Appreciate your consideration.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Tim Rodrigue. How are you, Tim?
Oh, great. How's everybody?
Good. Welcome.
Good.
Thanks for the time tonight.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I just wanted to come and put my name into the hat for looking for the new fire chief. I think it's important looking forward to remain a call department, but also looking forward to the future and where the fire service has gone and where the Grafton Fire Department needs to go and make sure we're a very top-notch, very well-trained department, as they say. If you look at my background, I had 10 years as a call firefighter. I spent just under 16 years working for the state Department of Fire Services or the State Fire Marshal's Office, overseeing code compliance, public education, data analysis, and the engineering staffs. And by education, I have a master's in fire protection engineering, and my thesis was on fire department response. So just, I think I have a diverse background that could bring something to the committee.
All right. Any
Great.
questions for Mr. Rodrigue?
Just, Tim, in your time at the fire academy, I'm assuming you worked with numerous fire chiefs.
Yes, I did. As the director of the State Fire Marshal's Office, I then moved to the Division of Fire Safety of the name. Yes, I worked with all 363 departments in some form or manner, or oversaw at least some of the work going on by some of the people with me.
Any other questions for Tim?
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Thank
Tim,
you.
thank you very
Have a
much.
great
for
night.
coming. I
Happy
appreciate it.
holidays.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Board want to discuss the 3 interested candidates for the member-at-large position tonight.
Yeah, I can start. I think that Tim, has the background, has the experience dealing with fire chiefs. Obviously, has the educational background to be able to choose a fire chief. I know that Tim is very, very involved in the community between the Boy Scouts and St. Mary's Church, and I just think that I think that he would be an asset to this committee, being an at-large member, and I just think he'd be the best choice for this committee.
Any other questions or comments from the board on the interested members?
So I think we're really lucky that all 3 of these gentlemen came in and are interested. They each are bringing unique skill sets. The fact that we are considering a charge change, though, and increasing the fire department representation really leads me to believe that Mark is a very strong candidate. The fact that he has developed and run his own assessments, doing this to hire fire chiefs in his own town, that really stands out to me, considering we may or may not need that skill set depending on what happens with Badge Quest, and could possibly save money doing that. So I think that's a strong skill set that would really be a plus on this committee.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
I just think that, and not to, you know, what Colleen said was absolutely true, but, I don't think that Evan is on the committee, town administrator, and Mark is a town manager, and he's been through this process before on his own, and I just don't think that putting a town administrator and a town manager on the same committee is good business.
Well, we're putting two firefighters on the committee.
They're firefighters.
I mean, but it's the same logic, right?
No, if you, as in Evan's position and as in Mark's position, they are the dominant factor within the town. And I don't believe that we should have two of dominant factors on one committee.
Well, Mark's not the dominant factor in Grafton. Evan is.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Just, yeah, I guess, where my head is at, as far as assessing the firefighter capabilities, I put a lot of stock in the assessment center, and so if we're gonna continue that, I'm interested in other things. I guess I don't know, it's difficult because we haven't made all these decisions, right, as far as how we're gonna go through the process. If we're gonna do the assessment center, if we're gonna put two, active, department members on the committee, to me, that's gonna give enough representation from the fire department, and I'm interested in all of the other aspects of being a fire chief, right? Interacting with the board, the, financial management, the community engagement, there's a lot of other pieces to it, but we haven't made those decisions yet. So it's really difficult for me to kind of, I agree with what both of you guys are saying. And I'm kind of just going back and forth on who's the right person to put on, but we haven't made those other decisions. So
That's where I'm at too. Because I really value any sort of fire representation on this committee. I think the more the better. But at the same time, I also value and appreciate that Mark was on the search committee for Evan. He's hired fire chiefs in another community. He understands the process, and that's invaluable as well. So I guess this board needs to, I don't know if we can make a decision on, because it's on the agenda tonight, of whether or not we're going to be doing the assessment center and like what that is going to look like, because I think that's going to determine the makeup of this committee for me. Unless we add members when we change the charge, but we don't want too big of a committee either. I think that would be hard, but same thing. I see Ray's point and I see Colleen's point, and I think everybody would be great on this. And I don't mean to sound like I can't make a decision, but it's I'm still mulling it over.
Well, I'm prepared to make a motion, so if that helps.
Oh, we'll see. Anyone else have any other further comments first before we go into motion? I haven't really said anything. So, I'll be honest with you. I'm curious, and I want to get on to the next part of our agenda, of the two select board reps on here. From what I'm gathering and where this board would like to go, it'd like to make a potential change to the charge, which would add more representation from the fire department. So, I guess, we have, two people who applied tonight for the member at large position that come from a fire background. Right. And what in addition to that do they offer that would round out further than having someone who maybe has gone through the process of hiring a chief, in another community, even though that's their trade and that's what they do for a living. In my opinion, if we're looking to add additional fire department representation after this board decides on the member at large, then, I'd really like to see someone who's really not directly involved in the fire department as much and get more of a community member at large, even though they may be a town manager at another town. That's immaterial. They're a resident of the town. So, that's where my head would be at this point. But if the board would so wish, we table this, go into the next part of our discussion, and then make a decision, if that makes it easier now for
No,
anybody.
I think.
Or
I
if someone
think
wants
we
to
can
make a motion and make a decision tonight.
I'll make a motion. I move we make Mark Haddad the member at large on the fire chief search committee.
Second.
Motion made in second. A discussion on that motion. Anybody?
Well, I think,
Talk about
yeah, I do want to talk
I do
about this
too.
because, you know, Tim he worked for the fire marshal's office. He was a call firefighter for however long it was, 10 years, 16 years, whatever it was. That was a long time ago. And as a matter of fact, he doesn't even work for the fire marshal's office anymore. I think that he has the background with all of his dealings that he has done throughout in the state with, as he said, 352 fire chiefs. I think that he has a well-rounded knowledge of fire chiefs from volunteer departments to Boston Fire. And I think that experience is invaluable. That he has dealt with and worked with, from the fire marshal's office, with all of every single city and city and town in Massachusetts. I think that's invaluable experience. I really do.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky that we have this problem, right? We have three very strong contenders, and they're each bringing a very strong skill set. Nobody is denying that, and I think it's just how are you deciding. And so for you, that's where you feel very strongly. And you know, for me, it's someone who's gone through the process of hiring chiefs before and has designed their own assessment center and has gone through search committees, and that's a different skill set that will balance nicely with, you know, as we expand the fire department representation like we plan to do.
You know, something to consider, you know, we're gonna talk about the select board charge here in a minute, that the board, you know, hasn't thought of yet, is that, we're gonna make changes to our charge here in a minute. So, there's an opportunity to potentially look at other candidates that maybe we feel that would broaden the horizon. For me, I think, you know, ideally, I wasn't here for this, but ideally, I think a 7-person committee would have been more ideal, but that was my opinion, but I wasn't able here to voice that when we adopted the charge, so be it. But I would say that if the board's willing to reconsider the charge here in the next few minutes, that we reconsider the number. So, any other further discussion? There's a motion made and seconded on the floor to appoint Mark Haddad. Is there any further discussion?
Sure. So I'm kind of leaning with Ray's line of commentary. I appreciate that we have, well, we're talking about 2 members from the Grafton Fire Department, but they don't have as much experience as Tim has with just, you know, looking at fire departments and many, many, many different fire departments and how they all operate and what's needed. I like the breadth of experience with different fire departments that Tim has. So I'm comfortable with any of the applicants. They're all going to be great. I feel like we do already have our kind of town administrator perspective. I can't speak to Evan's specific experience with hiring fire chiefs, but I'm comfortable that he's going to represent that part of the search committee well. So for me, I'd prefer Tim, but I think it would be good if we all could come to agreement on a candidate. So
Can I just make a suggestion? So if you're considering,
I know where you're going with this, but
if you're considering expanding the committee by 1 to do 2 representations from the fire department, that gives you a 6-member committee, which
Sure.
then
Right.
gives you a tie.
Yep.
So you might as well go to 7 and appoint.
I thought we were going to take away a select board rep, so we kept it at 5.
oh, we talked about that, but I was.
Oh, I didn't.
That's
that was
what
just
I
an
was.
option.
That's what I feel comfortable doing because I like the idea of a 5-member committee. This is something that we need to stick with, and 7 gets unwieldy sometimes with
Yeah,
scheduling
that's
and
actually
things
what
like that.
that's, Rick, is that what you suggested?
Yes, it's what he had suggested.
I took that as adding 1 more.
Yeah, no, I was in favor of going from 7 to 5 because I thought the other search committee did a great job, and I think that a lot of that information Evan already has in place for us, or for the new committee, to go through. So I think you discussed that at your meeting. That's what made me bring that up, was that you guys had talked about the 5-man committee working more efficiently and getting things done a little quicker than trying to get 7 people together in timely fashion.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got a motion made second on the table here. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
All right, so just real quick roll call. Doreen,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Peter Carlson, aye. Matt,
Nick.
Ray.
No.
I declare the motion carried 3-2. Okay. Next up on the table here is we have we wanted to bring back the charge and talk about the membership. So let's open that back up. As of today, we have membership that was approved, adopted on November 16th of 5 members, 1 member of the fire department, town administrator, 2 select board members, and 1 member of the community to be appointed by the select board. Does anyone want to maybe make suggestions or changes, and we'll discuss it?
I do.
Doreen?
So I want to just get a little more understanding why we think 5 would be more efficient. From the experience I had on a 7-member committee, not everybody can make committee meetings all the time, and I also want to make sure the process moves along effectively, and so we want to make sure that we're always having at least 5 people at a meeting. So that's one of the reasons why it would be good to have a representation of 7. I am in favor of going down to 1 select board member. I think that's fine to have 1 select board member and the town administrator. I would like to see more fire representation for sure. So at the very least, appoint Bob Egan to the committee. But I would be willing to remove a select board member and bring the number up to 7.
So I'm with you, but I would like to just remove a select board member and bring on another fire department and keep it at 5.
Okay, how come?
I just feel confident that 5 people can do it. A big part of the heavy lift was done with the job description. There's just going to be some tweaking on that, and then we're just going to be moving forward with that.
Okay. And you think 7 would be, so I guess one point I want to make too is when people go through the process, you know, they're weighing candidates, they're making determinations on candidates, and sometimes the more you have, the better results you get. And so I felt that with the 7-person committee as well, getting a little more weigh in than maybe the 4 people that show up at a meeting, let's say, if someone can't make it. So I just think it could be more effective having more members.
I mean, there's no to say that 3 people can't make it and you still have 4 people, right? Like,
Right.
it just,
Right.
I don't know. For me, 5 feels like the right number.
Okay. Well, I'm still in favor of 7, but I understand your point, Colleen.
Anyone else?
I'm with Colleen on this. I think 5's the right number.
Okay.
It'd
Same
easier to
reason?
schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I always thought 5 is the right number, so.
Okay.
See, like, 1 minute. I think 7 is ideal too, because if that's the rationale of the board for every, then we should take every 7, 9, or 12, or 13 member committee and size them down. So, I don't think it's right to say that it's, in my opinion, I don't agree that it's unwieldy or difficult to have a 7-member committee. We've had 7 members, we've had 9-member committees in the past that have worked very well. So I personally would be in favor of the 7, leave the 2 select board reps, increase another member of the fire department, make that 2, and put 2 members of the community in there to broaden that and move forward. But those are just my thoughts.
I just want to say one more thing too. We have very qualified people who are stepping up to serve and help with this, and I think that plays into it for me as well. I listened to everybody who came up here today, impressed with your experience and your willingness to help us move forward, and if we can take their experience and use it, I say we do it, but that's where I'm at.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the most giant hand I've ever seen is before us.
I just wanted to make sure the board has had an opportunity to kind of discuss before I bring someone
I
else.
know.
Yep. Okay. I did see your hand, Rick. I did. I can't miss it. It's
Yeah,
like
we all
a
did.
50-inch screen in front of me. Yeah.
There's
so,
a working man right there.
Any other discussion on the charger makeup?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Rick, what did you have to say?
So the reason I brought up about the two select board members is you get the final vote. So having the two select board members on the committee most likely are gonna have probably the same favorite person coming forward. With the town administrator also being there, there's a good chance that all you're gonna do is what just happened is convince one more member to vote for the certain chief, and now it's a 3-2 vote and that person gets in. Having the one select board member is more of a chance that the 3 or 5 that we put forward, the committee puts forward, have a more even chance that the vote happens during those interviews, and the way you scored them, the way the assessment scored them, comes more into play than having that. I'm not saying that would happen. I'm just saying, but just seeing how the 3-2 vote just happened now, it's easy to convince one more member as to the person that the other two favor than it is if there's one, since you do have the final vote. That's the reason I brought it up.
Let me ask a question to the board. Back on the 16th of November, why the 2 select board members? What was the rationale?
It was just, brought up. I think Ray suggested it, and nobody really questioned it, and that's how it kind of landed.
Okay.
That's unusual.
All right.
But I feel very comfortable changing it to 2 with the fire department and 1 with the select board. And I can make a motion to that effect if you're ready.
Yeah, anyone else have any further comments?
Nope.
Kind of see where this is going to go. All right, Colleen, go ahead and make a motion.
So I move we update the fire chief search committee charge to include 2 representations from the fire department and 1 representation from the select board, keeping all other membership the same.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion on the motion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion carried unanimous. All right, so now we have an addition. We need to figure out which select board member is going to come on. And I know what I said at the last meeting, but I've had a change of heart. I want to serve on this committee. See, this is the problem, ladies.
Well,
and
let's
gentlemen.
make it easier. Let's just appoint Bob, because we've just opened up a spot for him, and he can move on with his day if he wants. Does that sound easier?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we appoint Bob Egan as the fire department representative on the fire chief search committee.
Second.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, clear motion carried. All right, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
All set.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Happy holidays.
See you, Bob.
All right, so let's go back to the other question. Who to choose from the select board? Now that we've opened up that can of worms.
I don't know, like you just said it, you had a change of heart, you weren't really
There'll be a
super
bar
excited
around
about
here
it, and
somewhere.
I was excited about it the whole time, so I'll arm wrestle you for it if you
Okay.
want.
That works.
I,
Let's go. All right, here we go. Oh, all right. I'll withdraw from my.
That was easy.
you made that way easier because I was just going to make a motion for Colleen.
Actually,
but-
just the threat of the arm wrestle, I was ready to give in. All right,
All right, you good for a motion?
I'll take a motion.
I move the board vote to, I don't know, unappoint?
Yes,
Disappoint?
fire,
Disappointing.
fire,
Dis-
fire. I wanted
disappoint
you to say
you.
fire.
Peter Carlson as
All
the second select board representative on the fire chief search committee.
Second.
Motion made it second. I hope there's no discussion on this one.
Disappointed.
Well, I don't know, Peter. No.
Oh, jeez.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, very much carried. Wow, we had some fun getting rid of a select board member. All right. Any further business tonight, ladies and gents? On this. Okay. Thank you very
you.
much
Thanks,
for coming
Tim.
in.
Thanks so
everybody.
much.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do that. Okay. And if anyone was a betting person out there saying like the board would change the charge tonight, well, I hope you won some money.
Or arm wrestling.
Okay.
Long shot.
Next up, select board reports. Does anybody have anything?
The only thing I have is the
We
Economic-
skipped this kind of a bunch.
economic
but-
development.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bo, I had this big arrow down here. I'm sorry, Ray.
It's okay.
We don't have any appointments for town administrator. We do have some new business up here. I apologize for this, ladies and gents. We're going to do constable appointment policy. This was from a discussion at last week's meeting. 3 regards to what the board wanted to do. We said we'd bring it forward here after we mulled it over. Does any of the board members have any other questions or comments with regards to what it wants to do with constables?
I have a question. The policy doesn't really include the number of constables that we are going to allow. Currently, it's 7, but we have 2 open spots, and I didn't know if there should be any language to either indicate that it's 7 or reduce it down to 5, so we don't have any open spots.
So the website says that it's 7, but nowhere anywhere does that say that anywhere else. So currently you don't actually have a limit.
So
Could we
do
put
we
it?
want a limit?
Yeah.
You can, I don't see that there's a downside, to have, I don't see that there's an upside to having a limit.
Okay.
Okay.
Cause you have all of the control whether to appoint or not, so if you don't want to have more than 5 people, you don't have more than 5 people or 7 people or 10 people, whatever you choose to do at any given time. But you might wanna leave your options open.
You don't think we're gonna get to 27 constables soon?
A minimum's not important either, though?
Well, you can't have a minimum because people have to apply for the position.
Okay. So, all right.
You know what I mean?
I look at it this way, number 6 on the policy, any decision made by the select board regarding the appointment of any applicant will be final. So even though we may have a limit of, let's say, 10, and there's only 5 here, it's ultimately our decision if we want to go to 10, go to 15, or 20. I didn't know if that is enough for the board to consider that kind of self-governing limit.
Right.
Yeah, those are your 2 options. I mean, you can certainly add into here, the town will have no more than 7 constables. But I don't know that
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't even matter, really.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
Okay.
So
It's just
I have
something to bring up.
one more question, which is, I believe Colleen brought it up last week, that there's some current constables that do not live in the town of Grafton,
Yes.
and I did not see that language in there.
So,
Could
But
we,
they're employees, I think.
but they're employees.
Right.
yeah, and didn't we have,
Yeah, there's
You
language
should
for
have
that.
point 1.
what's that?
The first clause is
Yeah.
about living in town.
No, I know, but I thought we had a workaround for that.
Number 2, any constable
Yeah.
serving,
At the time of this policy,
Yeah.
adoption would not meet the criteria of point 1 shall be allowed to retain their position as a constable at the discretion of the Grafton Select Board.
Okay, but that means no future employees, if they live out of town, could apply.
Nope, so it says you either have to be a resident or
Grandfathered in.
or employed by the town.
Or
employed by the town.
Okay.
And if you are neither of those at the time of this policy, the board can choose to just say, yeah, everybody that's already a constable is fine,
Okay,
but no more that are outside or not a town employee.
okay. I read the first part is like you have to be a resident first. I understand now, thank you.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Are you all set, Colleen? Was that
Yeah, that was it.
okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, you'll know if I have
this
questions.
is the one that.
Oh, it's just
For the
after the arm wrestle thing, you know.
All right. I
I'll
move
take
the
a
board
motion.
vote to approve the constable appointment policy as submitted.
Second.
Motion made. It's second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Okay. All right. Next up, per the request of the board last week, we brought forward a TRICOM subcommittee charge and scope based on our feedback and direction. Does anyone have any questions? I do have an email I would like to read from Ms. Marr.
I have a quick question that might go into that email. When I was reading the responsibilities, make recommendations to the town administrator, should we also include superintendent in there?
Sure.
Right?
I'm just trying to think of where to put that.
I think you can just add it to discuss the annual budget and make recommendations to the town administrator and
Superintendent of schools.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's directed towards me because the budgetary authority is
Yeah.
In the statute is the school committee sets the school department budget. They vote and take official action on that. So this charge can't supersede the role of the school committee in their official role.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we would be okay in this case because they're just making a recommendation.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
Now, if you
no,
look at the
I-
charge, it's discuss, assess, recommend, and bring topics of discussion. So it's advisory.
I agree. I think that'll still work.
Any other questions or comments? Just real quick, Ms. Marr sent me an email. She had a minor question involving staff assigned to this committee based on prior experience with these meetings as a full TRICOM. She wanted to see or expect to see the following as ex officio non-voting members, town administrators, superintendent of schools, and both the town and school finance directors. So we call really just the town administrator and the superintendent of schools to be included in here. Does the board have any objections to just including both the finance director of the school and the town? Just to kind of codify that a bit.
Wasn't the goal of this is to make it smaller?
Well, it's beyond 5.
It's even too, so
Back up
that's
to
a problem.
27?
Oh, someone's salty.
So, it's salty. Maybe like a margarita, but you know. So I will say this: that again, this committee is designed to come back to us if they're like, "Hey guys, you know, we've all discussed, but we really think we need to kind of get everyone in the room to really have a bigger discussion," or they come back to us, right? And we have a fuller discussion, and then again, we could have all 19 of us in a room if we feel that that's appropriate for, you know, if there's some action or something that we need to take. This group is just working in the foreground at a smaller level, but her point was, and that's what I was asking is, we already included the town administrator and superintendent of schools, but should we include just these 2 other positions? So.
Well, my thought is that they're department heads and they would report to the superintendent and to the TA. So I would leave it up to the superintendent and TA if they wanted their finance directors to attend the meeting or not, but otherwise I would probably anticipate that, Evan would be in contact and
Totally with you.
have that information available. And that keeps the membership smaller.
Okay.
That's what our goal is.
Yeah, look, the TRICOM meetings are gonna have either the superintendent, the town administrator, and their finance people, or some combination thereof. This, TRICOM isn't gonna meet on their own,
Right.
very likely, so they'll invite who they need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't need to necessarily establish a membership on that, meeting criteria and who needs to be there and whatnot.
And we can always update this charge too as, a year goes by and we say, wow, we really need this. But to get the ground running, I think this would be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's a great suggestion too. I mean, I definitely think that
Totally.
it's worth consideration. I just think we maybe start smaller and build if we need.
I'm with you.
Okay, so with that exception, I think the only thing we're really making a change is just including the superintendent under the responsibilities within that bullet item. And Evan and William, you have that direction from us before we take action on this tonight? So we could take a vote on this charge as amended, if the board is okay with that?
Sounds good.
Good.
All right,
I
let's
move the board vote to approve the TRICOM subcommittee policy as amended.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Next up, we have appointment of select board reps to the TRICOM.
I volunteer.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, awesome.
Anyone else want to volunteer? No? No arm wrestling? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move the board vote to designate Matt and Colleen as the select board representatives to serve on the TRICOM subcommittee and notify other groups of our representation on this committee.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, that was great. All right, next up, I'm ready. We're the select board reports.
Give it to us.
I forgot.
You want to drum roll?
Okay.
No, I
Get that
contacted,
man a cane.
I contacted,
Let's get wacky with it.
trust me, I've been hitting the forehead with a ball peen enough. I contacted John Allen about scheduling a economic development meeting, so that's gonna be in January.
Okay.
With us?
Great.
No, why?
Oh.
No, with us.
So there's a future meeting of economic development?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we haven't had a meeting since September, so we
Oh,
really
okay.
need to have
Yeah.
have a meeting and have them on regular basis, so.
Great.
Oh, very good.
Good.
Any other select board member reports?
No, just a reminder that the library ribbon cutting is this Friday at 11 a.m.
Yes. Yep.
That'll
11 a.m. It will be. It's supposed to be nice out too.
Oh, good.
I can tell you that the Grafton ARPA Advisory Board met last night. We interviewed two consultants that assist municipalities with grants and the documentation and outreach and services that I think, and I believe the committee agreed, that the board will consider on or about January 4th at its next meeting for consideration of signing a contract with some services to augment our staff with this monumental effort of the $5.2 million that the federal government has granted to Grafton. We had a pretty good meeting yesterday. We saw, I think, one clear recommendation, and we will bring in that forward. Evan is working out the details, so we will have that at our January 4th meeting for further discussion and review, and maybe a brief presentation for the board, just to understand what the services that we will be utilizing and how we'll pay for it through ARPA funding. Now that we've got the fire department search committee, I'll schedule a meeting to get them organized. The first meeting, kick them off and make sure they get a chair and they understand the rules and so on and so forth. And then we'll get that kicked off sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, don't think I have anything else.
I have one more. Just the Waste Reduction and Recycling Committee has, we're going to be scheduling a meeting for the first week in January, but they are aware of the discussion that we had last week and the discussion that we're having tonight. Actually, one of the members is here to listen in person tonight, so they are aware of the importance of our sanitation plan and what was said at the last meeting. So despite the fact that this board will likely take action, we will have a longer term plan, which will be the work of the Waste Reduction and Recycling Committee starting the first week in January.
All right.
And thank you to Sherilyn for coming out tonight too.
Hey, Charlotte, how are you? All right. Any other select board reports? Okay. Moving on to town administrator reports. Evan.
I was going to talk about ARPA, but that's done. So my other updates can happen in the sanitation conversation of things that we've been working on.
All right.
Great.
All right. Next up, we had some correspondence come through. Anyone have any questions on what was included in the packet?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, Cheryl Cosman, the J&J junk car removal, I just haven't seen a response to that. I just wanted to make sure that that was responded to.
I will follow up on that.
Okay.
I believe it was, but it was not responded to by me. So let me follow up.
Thank you.
But it's my understanding that that was taken care of.
Got it. Okay.
And the same with the creating the noise ordinance, that person is.
I responded to
Received
that
Yeah,
personally.
I saw that. Yep.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? You've all received sort of last minute correspondence that appeared on Monday morning or Monday afternoon to you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on Mr. Bolton's email? He did ask just to include his email to the record for the meeting minutes. Does the board want to read it or no?
No,
It'll go in the next packet because it just
Yeah.
missed the deadline for this one. But
It'll be in this one.
oh, we'll be in this
Yep,
one.
it'll
Oh,
be in these sets
fantastic.
of meeting minutes. I worked with Cindy on that. Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Discussion. Okay, question. Does the board want to talk about the Grafton Town trash bag subsidized fees and policy, or does it want to go into the sanitation curbside collection first and then talk about the subsidized fee policy that we asked to bring forward tonight's meeting? My discretion. Okay, we're gonna go with
Yeah.
the sanitation
I'm looking at you
curbside
like
collection, but we're gonna talk about bag fees at this point.
Okay.
And municipal solid waste. Evan?
Sure. So after our last meeting, we have spent some time looking at a number of different options. And I have been working with 2 additional bag companies that make, municipal solid waste bags. I did receive samples from one of them this week. Waiting for samples from another one that should also be in this week, as well as pricing by the end of the week from both of them. I anticipate both of them run a very similar program to the program we're already doing, as well as are competitively priced with the company that we're currently using. So we've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out quality control issues, so that if we move away from our current vendor, we're not moving to another vendor that's having the same quality control issues. One of the problems is that the technology that is simplistic and therefore not likely to fail, no one has those anymore. Everyone is draw tape, and they all seem to be running the same designed bag and have discontinued all the older stuff. So I have one company that sent us a sample of a draw tape bag, and then I had the other company send us a sample of the old school twist tie bags, to see if we can ordain whether one would be more likely to give us problems than the other. So in looking at the samples we have so far, they're trash bags. They're the same thickness, they're the same color, they're very similar. They're not, I did confirm they're not coming from the same place, so there's a different manufacturer of the bag. So I wanted to make sure we're not buying the same bags from a different vendor at more money if we get the same result. And it appears like we have 2 contenders that will give us a bag that is of better quality. I also spent time on the tags or sticker conversation that we had. There are some advantages to that, as we talked about before, which is you get to select your own bag, you can get a thicker bag, you can do whatever you want. The major problems that come up in other communities are the tags don't usually survive wet weather, snowy weather. There's a lot of problems that come with that. There's actually some communities that have a big problem with tag theft, believe it or not. I don't know that we'd have that here, but that's a consideration.
So that's people grabbing tags off of other people's bags?
Oh, yeah.
And slapping them on their own?
Yeah.
You gotta really have time on your hands.
Yeah.
Right?
Or just
Yeah.
not like your neighbor.
Yeah. So that's a problem. But the biggest problem by far is that when you go to the tag system, it's very hard to regulate the size of the bag that the tags are going on. And so what winds up happening is people buy the biggest bag they possibly can, and then you have problems with actually getting it into the truck, the weight of it. You have problems with there's a host of problems that come about when you let people choose their own bag for a pay-as-you-throw system. So the vast majority of cities and towns are going with a bag. And the reason is, and you'll see this on the bags themselves, the company I just got they have weight limits on them. And they have weight limits on them for a reason, because what you're trying to do is monetize the tonnage, right? So if somebody has a tag that they paid $2 for, and they put 75 pounds of waste in that, and somebody else has a tag and they put 30 pounds of waste in that, not only is it inherently unfair, but you're also now, on everybody that's doing 75 pounds, you're losing money for the program, and we're right back to where we started. So it appears to me, if we're going to stay with the program, that we need to find a better quality bag, but stay with the bag, the bag strategy that we have. Unless the board chooses to go some wholly other direction. But if we're staying with pay as you throw, that's going to be, I think that's the best model. Other than that, we refined our data. It remains pretty much unchanged from what we presented to you last week. Will's going to throw that up on the screen. As we talk about bag fees, our finances did not change. And it pretty much remains that you probably you need to do something to move us into the direction of subsidizing the program better.
So Evan, on the lodge bags, because it got a little confusing last week, on the lodge bags, how much do we pay per bag?
So right now, you are paying, sorry, I'm just trying to see that from way over here. Oh. Go ahead, Will.
So it's not on this slide. You mean just
Okay, we gotta go to a different slide. Hold on one sec.
Well, are there 10 bags in a roll?
There's
Five.
5 bags in a roll.
It's 5 bags in a roll.
Yes, so any new company we go to is gonna be 10 bags in a roll. That's
So
nope,
that, so that price that you have there of $12.60 for the large bags, that's gonna be 10 bags.
nope, it's gonna change. So where's our per bag fee?
so per bag right now we're paying 32 cents per big bag.
No, not what we're paying, what the residents pay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question then.
Yep.
Um,
That is on this sheet.
it is on
Okay.
the sheet, yes.
Sorry, I just can't see that far.
So we pay $9 for the big bags
Right,
and $5 for the small bags.
But that's a roll.
that's a roll.
Yeah.
Yep,
So that's divided by 5.
yeah. I'm a town administrator, not a,
Mathematician.
so 5 divided by 9.
No, 9 divided by 5.
Come on, Will. You know I'm saying it backwards. I literally looked at the political science calendar and was like, okay, I gotta do this, there's no math. 1.8, 180 per bag is what you're paying.
So, and in the big ones, we're paying $2 in the new thing.
Yep,
We're gonna pay $2.52.
yep.
So, a lot of the towns around here are paying about $1.20.
Not all of them.
No, not,
they're-
I say, not all of them,
So-
obviously, but there's a lot of them that only pay $1.20.
So we do have some data on that.
Worcester is under $1.
But, I mean,
But
it's
so
hard to
we could
compare.
be under $1. You just have to decide how much you want to subsidize.
No,
That's-
no. See, what I was trying to do is
Okay.
I'm trying to justify whether we put more money into this program or we raise our prices that are double what bordering towns are paying. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
It's actually more than double what.
I would have to assume that surrounding towns are almost within reason paying the same tonnage and tipping fees as Grafton.
I would assume so,
Right.
except for Millbury.
So it comes down to other towns around us, their ability, to subsidize their
right.
programs based on their taxation.
Right.
And we don't know what their hauling costs are either, like what our contract is compared to their contract.
Right,
So,
right.
but yeah, I hear what you're saying, Ray.
No, I think the big question is that, are we gonna pay $2.60 per bag, on the large bags, I'm just throwing that out there, $2.60 a bag, or are we willing to, subsidize this more to make it easier or less expensive for the residents?
I have a question. The roles that we could potentially go to that would include 10 instead of 5, those prices would not be here, but how close would they be? Would we be talking about, if we increased our current model to $12.60 for 5 large bags, but then we get to the new dealer and we get 10 bags and we can charge $12.60 for that, or $13 for that, or it's going to be significantly higher? Where
It
would
would
we be?
you'd be double.
Yeah.
It would be double. Well, that's
$26.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$25 somewhere right around there.
So,
For a roll of trash bags.
for a roll
for
of
10.
trash bags.
Yeah, that's,
So, and this is a silly question,
Not
but I
gonna
was
fly.
told a long time ago in
Nothing.
school, there are no silly questions, there are just your answers, whatever. Can we advertise on these things,
What do you mean?
on the bags?
yes. With Waste Zero, we can.
You mean have something printed on the side that
Yeah.
you're selling and advertising?
Koopmans or CVS and, get out long receipts.
You can.
Are there any communities that successfully do that? And who wants to be on a trash bag?
I don't know. Peter, I don't know if you remember this or not. I think we tried it at the beginning and no one was interested in advertising on the trash.
So my question is, how much do surrounding communities subsidize?
How much do they subsidize?
What
Yeah.
percentage?
I'd have to do.
So that, saying it's $1 a bag in Worcester,
Yeah.
it's not really relevant unless you figure out what their corresponding
Right.
tax impact is for
Right.
the rest of the budget
Yeah.
for their sanitation.
So if you look at like Sutton, five bags in a roll, $12.50. Shrewsbury, 5 bags in a roll, $11.25. Northborough, 5 bags in a roll, $15. Hopkinton is 5 bags per roll. That roll is only $6.75, but that's because they have a cart system. So that's an overflow bag, is what that's called. So you have a 35-gallon trash can or a 40-gallon trash can, whatever you have. If it doesn't fit in there, you need an overthrow bag. Grafton's $9 a roll. Auburn is $7.50, but that's an overflow bag. So the communities that we looked at, with the exception of, I don't have full data on Webster, so I'll skip that. But Northborough, Shrewsbury, Sutton are all $12.50, $11.25, or $15, and
What's
we're at
the
9.
overthrow model?
So there's some substantial implementation costs because the municipality has to buy a barrel for every pickup in the entire town. Then those barrels live with the residents, excuse me. It stays with the house. So resident A moves out, resident B moves in, that container's still there because that's tied to the address.
Kind of like our current recycling bins.
Right. So basically what you do is you get a size bin, fits in that bin. It's your set fee that you pay to the municipality every year. If you're a place that's producing more waste, that's the extra bag. And then you put that to the side of your cart and then they'll take it if it's in the right bag.
What's the, when you say significant startup fee, what does that look like?
So I was doing it before and I had a third of your residences and it was $160,000.
But that's a one-time hit, and then after that,
And then it's yearly for whatever ones get damaged, lost, stolen, blah, blah, blah. So there's and I'm not saying that's a huge number, but you have to factor that in.
of course. But then we're just no longer, we don't have to have this bag fee conversation hanging over our head anymore, right?
You'd have to have, you just the overflow bags, you'd have to figure out that model.
And that money, can we ask residents to buy the barrel? Like if the barrel is $50,
Yeah.
here's a one-time $50, and you don't have to buy trash bags unless you really need it.
Yeah, you can do that. And then
That
you
seems
can,
like a fun sell.
yeah, we can also look at grant money. I just,
Oh, love that.
yeah, I just want to be cautious because what you're talking about is a year away minimum. And you have to be willing to subsidize the program for that year at the rate that we're looking at subsidizing it. And understand that that is going to hamstring the amount of money you have to do all the other things that you're wanting to do.
But this
That's-
could be something we could have the committee hyper focused on, so that if we do try to make that change, we have a lot more answers available to us.
Yeah,
But
just
I
the,
think tonight, we really need to make a decision on this cost because the
Yeah.
reason why this came back forward with us is I know we had some long-term plans, but we really need to make a decision tonight on do we increase the bags as being recommended today to at least keep par with what we've already agreed to subsidize this program for the rest of the fiscal year.
Yeah, how much budget impact do we want to have for this year?
I mean, we've already allocated all of the money this year. There's not like an excess pool of funding that
No.
we haven't raised, put it on anything. So we'd be running a deficit if we don't take action soon. At the same time, I think, to what we're offering here tonight, there's some other options to look at long-term. But I do think tonight, I think we need to be focused on what's been presented in front of us tonight.
So have you guys done analysis around like the level of subsidy in surrounding towns?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I would anticipate that what we're going to find is that when you have your Northborough, Shrewsbury, Suttons that are similar to us or similarly budgeting or operating in the similar manner that we are, and they're all, at $12.50 or $11.25 or $15, it shows you kind of, I'm assuming where they're doing the same thing we're talking about doing right now, trying to keep pace with the rising costs of recycling. We can certainly get that information and drill down on it, but I didn't do it since last week.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I need that tonight, but I think it's I think it's important for us to understand relative to other communities how much we're subsidizing. This feels like as you move to kind of pay for play and fees, it's that kind of scheme always disproportionately impacts typically larger households, families with kids.
That's exactly what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
The entire model of pay as you throw is to, in essence, charge the people producing the highest amount of waste the highest amount of money, and the people producing the smallest amount of waste the smallest amount of money. So if you're Mrs. Smith and you live by yourself and you have one bag of trash a week, you're paying $2.50 a week to get rid of your trash, which is a pretty darn good deal. You know, if you're Mrs. Smith and you have a household of 6 and you're doing 5 bags a week, that's inherently, you know, how it's supposed to work. That's the economic model that is pay as you throw, and it was really designed to funnel people into recycling, because the more you recycle, the less you're paying to get rid of your trash. The problem is, as we talked about, that model is no longer the same model that it was, because recycling costs just as much now as your trash does.
Exactly.
So you can look at, you know, if you went to a toter model, that's what they're going to call it, with an overflow bag. I don't know that I don't know that people are going to save any money, because they're going to. It's not really the cost of the toter that's prohibitive. That's for startup costs, but they're going to pay a trash fee, you know, quarterly or biannually, to get rid of that waste. So, you know, if you're paying, let's call, I don't know, make something up, $100 a quarter, that's $400 a year. How many bags do you buy to get to $400 in a year, right? So we have to look at that before we.
Could be saving money though.
Okay.
If you're paying $12 a week, you're already saving money.
But
If you're paying $12 a week.
right,
Right.
But if you're and,
But-
and
If
we
it's
ra-
$100, if all these ifs, right?
Right.
we actually ran into discussions with our senior community, because when we rolled out the large recycling toters, they said, I don't use this. I'm not going to bring a big barrel down my driveway every week. I drink, you know, 2 cans of soda and we'll throw it in, and I don't need this. So that's why we have the smaller bins. So my point being, the same thing would certainly happen with trash. If you're one person or a couple and you're composting and recycling and you throw out one small bag of trash and you have this giant toter,
Right.
it doesn't become a pay-as-you-throw program anymore. And not that that's a bad thing. It's just, I think we have to determine, are we just going to completely scrap pay-as-you-throw and do a completely different model? Which, to your point, Matt, how
I'm
much
just trying to
other-
figure out,
Yeah.
any decision we make is, there's going to be winners and losers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, you know, how to balance the decision. We're moving a lot of costs into families. We've now adopted, you know, additional fees in the schools. So, you know, and that applies to, you know, each extra kid you have costs money. I don't want to be moving too far in that direction. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying
But
to think
in,
about
in all fairness, you know, the flip side of that coin is that those families use more services, right? And so I'm paying for, you know, school through my taxes too, and I don't have any students in my household. Like, I feel like you're right, like there has to be some kind of even balance, but I think that part of the incentive of this program was the people who use the services pay for the services, and the people who don't. And
So I did some quick numbers here. So in this scenario at 1260, it's going to cost $126 a year if you do one large bag. And trust me, check my numbers because I wasn't good in geography. So it looks like the increase over the year is $25.20, which is 48 cents a week. Sound right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So it's 48 cents a week.
If you're only using one bag.
So the big issue is that if we adopt this now, and we say, okay, it's gonna cost everybody who throws one big bag away a week, it's gonna cost you an additional 48 cents. What's it gonna cost next year? Are we gonna be right back here next year doing the exact same thing? And what is the alternative?
Well, there's a slide for that.
There is?
There is.
Yep.
We went over it last week, but we did.
Oh, yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
see
we've
that.
had a lot of, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it,
So, I mean, I look at 48 cents a week, and I don't see that that's a big issue. Really, I don't see that that's a big issue. The thing that I want to see is, and during you know, we had mentioned this last time, is that we advertise the free bags to the people who cannot afford them. And 48 cents a week, to me, is really not that big of a deal. It's the future.
So last week when you presented this, you had 4 potential actions. One was explore other models, which we've done, but clearly not going to be an option for right now. Implement other programs, which is kind of the same thing, also not an immediate option. So our 2 immediate options are increase the fees as we see presented right there, or increase the fees over a period of time. And I think that's where we have to kind of focus right now. Either increase it just now, bite the bullet, or figure out a over the time period that's going to work. And I think,
Yeah.
straw poll everybody right now and figure where we are, and then direct the conversation that way.
So I think that we bite the bullet, and the reason is because if we end up extending it, people are going to flood to buy pay-as-you-throw bags, and then stores will run out, and then the town administrator's office is going to be getting calls. I'm trying to get bags. There's no trash bags. I can't put my trash out. And so if we do it, people aren't trying to buy all the bags up front.
Which could happen right now anyway, because
People who are listening to this are running to CVS
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
Not for bags, though.
But I agree with you for similar reasons that just bite the bullet. You can, it's not good either way, but
No.
it's the best impact for the town. It's not the best impact for the individual, and it just stinks.
I think we've chewed on this quite a bit here, and we understand the ramifications. Without, further talking about what future programs may look like, looking at the fees now, does anyone want to make a motion, a decision tonight on what's proposed in front of us?
so I'll make a motion, we adopt the, changes to the small and large, bag fees, as presented.
Do we need to be more specific?
I would
'Cause
like to
see
be
a
more
lot of
specific on that, just so
presentations.
people know that, I would state what the increase is going to be.
So it's $7 for small and $12.60 for large, right?
Correct.
Nine
Yep.
million.
Or the 40%
40%, yeah. So second,
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we stipulated the cost for each small and large.
Do we
bag
want to
roll?
say effective January 1st?
Yes,
Effective January 1st.
second.
Okay. No, I was gonna get there.
It's okay. That's why we're aboard.
Any motion made and seconded, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, declare the motion carried unanimous. To be continued. Next up, we were asked to come forward again, and discuss, we tabled this for later in the agenda, town trash bag subsidized fees and policy. So, and in your packet tonight, you'll see that the board, back around June of 2020, right when COVID was really kind of taking off here, the board took action and updated the policy in 2020. Does anyone have any questions or comments to the way that policy is drafted? Does anyone want to see something different?
I think it looks good, but I would like confirmation from the Council on Aging that it is going well. And if they have any suggestions, which I did not have an opportunity to reach out to get an official word, but I think other than that, it looks okay to me.
Yeah, and to Ray's point, I wanted this on the agenda just because I thought it was a good idea to discuss since the board has turned over so much, but also to Ray's point of advertising too. I don't know how many people are aware of this program, so I don't know if there's language that we should put in the charge, or if we should just talk to the outreach worker directly to see if we can help to manage, letting people know.
How much would it cost to print that on the bags?
So you have to do that actually as a blow-in would be the cheapest way to do that, which is they wrap the bags with that piece of paper that tells you how to do that. They actually asked me if I wanted that option, and I told them no. So
Okay.
I can call them back and ask for that to be included in the pricing, and then I will know how much that would cost for us to do.
Okay.
I mean, if we're talking about getting the word out for the bags, I can't think of a better way to do it than
Yeah,
when
it's
you
a great
go
idea.
buy the roll,
Yep.
and it's right there.
Yep.
And if it costs us a little bit more, then maybe somebody will pick up on it. I think to Matt's point, and Ray's point, and everyone's point here, we're all concerned about the increase of of services, so I think that would be a novel idea. All right, great. So you'll get back to us with that?
I will.
Next
Yep.
meeting?
As soon as I believe both vendors are giving me pricing by the end of the week.
Okay.
So
I just have one more question before we move on to, have you spoken to communities that use these bags, or did you just call?
I got the list, but I have not called anyone
Okay.
as of yet. But I will before. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole point of changing vendors is to get better
Right.
quality control.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to do that, I'm going to make sure that, we're not having quality control
Great.
issues.
Yeah,
with
so
it
I'd
now.
be
Yeah.
interested in feedback from the
Yep.
community. Perfect.
We do have references.
Okay.
So.
That would be a nice thing to kind of do together, to say, yep, we're increasing fees, but we're also looking at a different vendor, and we recognize that it's frustrating when you get a roll of bags that just the seams bust open.
Yeah.
Even with a small amount, I've had mixed experience with the bags.
Me
For the most part, they're fine, but I definitely have had a couple of rolls where with no weight in them, the sides just split open.
Yeah,
So it's
we've had them rip just taking them off the roll.
exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yep, and I think it's important to note for the community that, even though we're talking about it here, all of us up here, I believe, utilize these bags. So
Yeah.
every time you feel and notify us that they rip on us too. We're right there with you. It happens to us too. So I think we're, doing the best we can to move forward with a new vendor that's going to secure better quality bags. Again, it's like anything else in manufacturing, okay? Sometimes you get a bad lot of bags and they circulate around and there's nothing you can do because it's too late. They're already out in the field. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the policy?
When people get a bad bag, they can take that lot number or whatever to try to get a new roll. Is there a feature we can put on the website to make it a little bit easier for people? Because I feel like or is that not really a thing?
There's
Or directs them right back to the vendor somehow, or?
Yeah, I think our website already does that because
Okay.
it's like an 800 number that you call,
Great.
but hardly anybody does.
Right.
So when I talk to the folks at Waste Zero, they're like, nobody's calling us to tell us that we have a bad lot.
Maybe that's something in addition that we put into the bags as
Yeah.
well.
Or like a social media post once a quarter.
Yeah,
Reminder
and
call.
We've
we've-
done that a couple
Yeah.
We've been doing that.
So there's an insert that goes into every single roll of bags, right? The little leaflet that goes in.
Right.
So we certainly could put all that information there, who to contact and whatnot.
Yeah.
The other thing too is just for the listening public. I several times I've run into situations where the bags just bust coming out of the roll. You can just put a similar size bag and just tie the bag on it.
Yeah.
They'll see, oh, he's bought a bag, and if you have other bags that are the same size, just attach it and they'll take it. So that's a technique people can use if you just need to get your trash out and
Good to
can't
know.
run out to the store or whatever.
Trash Bag Hacks by Matthew Often. Check out his YouTube channel later tonight.
Matt, do you want me to go over the economics of this program again? Just talk about it for 20
I'm
minutes.
just picturing the 75-pound bag.
I can see some contractor with a 60
Yeah, he
gallon
said
bag.
just tie it to
Guy's got a dumpster out there with a bag tied to
Yeah.
the corner.
I said a similar size bag.
Yeah, I
Well aware of the economics.
okay.
Any other discussion on the policy?
Policy.
All right. So there's no reason to revisit it this time. We should talk about it every time we do talk about trash bags. So I think that's something we just have to kind of have good hygiene with this board and always consider this. Like, do we need to make any changes to assist those people in need?
And we will reach out to Barb and get her feedback on how that program is working. I will note Cindy had a conversation with Barb to get all this information, and I think it would have been a natural time for that to come up. But let's get a little bit more metrics on that, and we can bring that back as well as part of the conversation.
All right. Let's move on to goals review from department head input. Evan.
Yeah, okay. So I met with department heads last week. We talked through we talked through all of your goals. And we came up with some recommendations for objectives and metrics. Some of them, you'll see when we get lower, we don't have metrics for, and we need to still kind of develop that. So this looks different than what you had before. This is something we're trying out, and if you don't like it, we can certainly go back to where we were. So you have established a diversity and inclusion committee. Our objective would be to determine the purpose, scope, charge, and responsible parties. And then the committee charge is in place, committee is meeting to review and advise. That would be your outcome that you're looking for. Salary and classification study we have been working on. We will be done by January of 2022. Should be right at the front end of that. We're just cleaning up with a couple of different departments that have been a little bit laggy.
Can you go back up to the first one?
Sure.
Do the colors mean anything?
No.
Okay.
So that looks more like a goal. In the third column, this strategic objective. The strategic objective is to actually improve our position as far as,
Okay.
DE and I. And those are two very different things. So that's the strategy is a long-term movement to achieve, kind of strategic outcomes. Short term, I'm fine with that as the goal, but I don't think that's necessarily the strategy is to. So I guess that's just feedback on that.
Okay. Change the top to goals.
So I'm not sure if we need. I think
I'm not kidding.
Well, it would be good.
Those are all goals all the way down.
It'd be good to identify what the actual strategy is to define, because a lot of the stuff that we're looking at, what we should be looking at, is strategy and vision and long term. Obviously, this is kind of bound by this is what we're thinking about doing this year or in the upcoming years.
Yeah, so you had a goals meeting, and it wasn't a strategic planning session.
Yep.
So I think that if we want it to be strategic like that, then we're gonna have to talk deeper about what the board is trying to have as an end result. My conversations with the department heads was really to get how do we start working on whatever it is that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are we gonna have like a part 2 goals meeting like we did last year, or is this like a?
Is this it right now?
Yeah.
I feel like this is it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
kind of trying to take whatever feedback I get from you folks and plug it into what you're looking for.
Okay,
So,
good.
I mean, I could certainly do the full strategic planning thing. This was just kind of a stripped down version where, which is where I thought we were going.
Yeah, no, it's
All right.
great. I just, to Matt's point, I agree with him that I don't think that's the end goal.
Right, and we were using that column, I think, a little bit differently.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
When we met with department heads.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so salary and classification, like I said, we'll have that in January. Continue reviewing policies and uploading to websites. So our goal would be to review and revise all of your policies by 12/31/2022 and create a main landing page on the website for all SP policies. We're going to be doing that in conjunction with recommendations we'll be making about revamping the website, which William has been working on with new vendors as well as our current vendors to make a recommendation. So I think those two things are going to happen in conjunction. And I picked 12/31. You can pick whatever timeline you want, but I thought it was important to have a date on there so that we can figure out how many we need to look at in any given month to meet whatever goal it is you want to try to get to. Rebuild website for accessibility and modernization. So again, by end of 22, have the new website in place. as well as develop an accessibility policy. So I think that part of the issue we have with accessibility is not only is our current website, it's a little clunky to do that, but also we don't have any policy in place that tells a department head that this is how you will do it. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing out there. And I think we need to make a universal policy that says, you know, you're going to, I can't remember what the term is when you have a picture and it has the explanation. When you hover over it, it talks to you.
Alt text.
Alt text, right. So that's not what I was calling it, but it doesn't matter. So we need to have a policy that says every time you're uploading to the website, these are the features you're going to use to make sure that it's as accessible as possible.
Okay.
Which we're not doing, quite frankly, not even a little bit.
Just along with what you just said, that will come a lot with the website redesign, because in the vendors we've talked to, a lot of them are partnered with ADA firms to make sure the software we're using will make the site more accessible all around. So it'll be a second nature type of thing.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. But I think we need policy too to
Yep.
just dictate how we're going to do that. Improve citizen communication. So we talked about using Code Red more for non-urgent government information. So that's the part of the Code Red sign up where people can check the non-emergent box and get updates pushed out from us. And or targeted output. So I did it a lot this year on a real limited basis for different neighborhoods so that you weren't getting bombarded with communication about, you know, a road closure that you're not even close to, you know, or that's not a main artery or things like that. But we can also push out things like there's a town meeting or, you know, the neighborhood around 244 Worcester Street. You could draw a 2-mile radius and send everybody a message in that 2-mile radius that says planning board meeting regarding this issue. This might be something you're interested in tuning into. Right? We can do a lot more with that service than we're currently doing. We also talked about creating a suggestion box for resident feedback, which is a dedicated portion of the website, not just like email this person, email that person, but just a generic click this tab and tell us what you think. Other towns have had varying levels of success with that model, which is just, you don't have to know what board you want to talk to. You just click, I want to tell you something, and boom, there it goes. We also talked about, Will actually, and I had talked about this way back, but doing like quarterly Ask Me Anything sessions, which you would do like either via Zoom or Facebook Live or whatever, where you just sit there and the residents can come on and ask you any question they want. Which should be fun. I think you could get some really interesting feedback out of that. Electronic suggestion boxes live, code notification list is complete. So, what? So, we talked about establishing an ongoing relationship with GURR. So I have a quarterly check-in with them anyways. So we would bolster that, and what I want to move to when we have the new fire chief is quarterly public safety meetings with the railway. Yep. That was all we really came up with during our conversation. Relationship with Tufts. So I don't know if the board is aware of this, but continue quarterly town Tufts meetings. So we meet with them every quarter. Been going on for almost 20 years that the town's been doing that with Tufts. We are currently having meetings every month about the science park area. But we do need to identify with the folks at Tufts ways for more potential collaboration. So I think that we would have some dialogue outside of those normal meetings and say, what else can the town be doing? I mean, Joe at Tufts and I have had those conversations a little bit, but nothing formal. So I think we could formalize that in some way. Try to do that. It would also be cool to know, like when they're having events or having, and they do sometimes, but not all the time. But it would be nice to be included in some of that stuff. It would, I think, go a long way to bolster our relationship. So for affordable housing, we had talked about. This was actually Chris and I.
doing like a biannual Affordable Housing Trust joint meeting, where you would get the two boards together or a representative from Affordable Housing Trust to come in, give an update, and ask, what can the board be doing to support affordable housing? And also looking deeper into mortgage and rental assistance programs for people that qualify.
So Evan, one thing I want to talk about with regards to affordable housing is also just outreach.
Mhm.
So I'd like to, I don't know, and I'm not sure if this is part of the goal, but I'd like to definitely discuss the model that we use for public outreach from the trust. It could be through the town, it could be more independent through the trust. I don't know. But
Okay.
right now, the trust doesn't have a good independent mechanism to engage with the public. So whether it's Facebook pages or being able to have some independence in putting content on the town website or their own website or whatever, or having the town partner with the trust to do it, to help them out. I'm not sure what that needs to look like, but
Right.
but I think this year I'd like to see some movement on that.
Yeah, I think we could better utilize, say, GCTV and our reaches that we have from public or social media to kind of cast a broader net and
Okay.
try to do that.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, any other? And I'm just running through them. You can take this list and do whatever
That's
you,
great.
you want with it. I'm just reading through. Economic development, strategic objective. We need to probably have a dedicated conversation about what this board thinks the term economic development means. And we've danced around it quite a bit. I think we're homing in on what we think that means. But if you're going to tell the staff that you want to focus on economic development, you got to tell them what exactly you're talking about that you want them to achieve. But one thing we did talk about was the long-range rapid recovery plan that we just did for that little area in North Grafton. That was a really successful project in our opinion. It identified a lot of really good projects that can be done to kind of work at the neighborhood level and how to really achieve things like walkability, parks, pocket parks, all that kind of stuff. And we'd like to continue doing that process, but throughout the community. Chris found it to be extremely helpful to do it on the smaller scale. So you're not doing this town-wide planning initiative or wayfinding. You're looking at this one specific area and you're able to really target where we think you can use tax dollars to make the biggest impact. So he was a big proponent of working that into the goal somehow.
Okay.
Tax relief and programs for seniors and vulnerable populations. So I started working with Candy. She sent me a list. I'm not all the way through it yet, but we have to look and see what the town of Grafton has adopted over the years for mass general laws that allow us to have certain exemptions for seniors and veterans and people of lower income. And then if we haven't adopted certain ones, that's definitely an area that the board could look to put these acceptances on future town meetings and then adopt those practices. You have a great swap program right now, which is senior work off program. Very active. It's really impressive what the senior center and outreach people are doing with that. So I don't know that you can do a heck of a lot more there. There's only so much of work off to be done, but I know we're constantly working on that. Another area that I think we could benefit from, and I did mention this to Barb, is becoming an aging-friendly community. So that's a designation through AARP. There's aging-friendly communities and there's Alzheimer's dementia-friendly communities, which plays into some of our planning and how we're designing things. But it also opens up other avenues of either funding or programming that is of no cost or little cost to the town that we can then do with our seniors or vulnerable populations.
It would be amazing to see some more multi-generational support in Grafton. I know, we've got a sort of a pretty well-trodden accessory apartment model, which is good. But anything we could do to kind of support that, aging in place or aging with family, would definitely be great. It's mentioned in there coordinating with the state legislature. It would also be great if we could lobby the state to increase some of the thresholds for income and asset levels for some of these tax exemptions that we have.
Yep.
There are homestead exemptions that some towns have adopted where you just exempt a certain portion of your home value as far as taxation purposes go, and that definitely benefits seniors more than others. So yeah, anything we can do as far as that goes, I would be in strong support of, for sure.
Absolutely. Anything else on that particular one? So staffing assessment. So we had talked about looking at different staffing features or models. This is kind of what I have come up with in your outcome metrics. It's again, this is a table we took from somewhere else. We can tweak what their headings are called and everything. But my proposal would be to convert Williams' position to an ATA position. Continue hiring one police officer per year for the next 5 years. Restructure the planning department and include a staff planner. That would be a second level of a planner person to do some of this other stuff. And I don't know why it's not showing up on here. I clearly didn't do that, but would be to nix the idea of a grant writer for the town. We had talked about that as one of your previous goals, and I want to show you. Can you pull up that Google sheet?
So then hiring one police officer for the next 5 years, is that gonna bring us up to the level 5 years from now, or is that gonna bring us up to the current level?
It's gonna bring you up to the current level.
So we need 5 officers now,
Yeah,
and it's gonna take 5 years to get those, and then at that point, the town will have probably 2,500 or 3,000 more people.
yeah. I am pushing very hard on that. So I've been here since February, and I've already increased it by 2 officers. We're already at 22. So I think that the goal of getting to 25 in 5 years is going to be met early for that exact reason. So you should be right now at probably 27. I mean, you got 20,000 people here. So, but knowing that it's not realistic for us to get money for 5 officers in one shot, basically what I've been doing is every time we carve out some savings here, savings there that I can in the operational budget that I've been doing over the past year, I say, Chief, I found you the money at another. And so we've been doing that. So I'm hopeful that my 5-year conversation is actually a 3-year conversation, and then I'm back here talking to you about, we're not looking at 25, we're looking at 30, and we're going to do 5 more over the next 5 years, and then how do we get there? I'm trying to be pragmatic about how I'm presenting that. But yeah, that's a very valid point. We should be at 25 5 years ago. So, trying to figure out how to get us there. Okay, so this is a sheet that we came up with. Really, I mean, we did it since last Wednesday.
Trying to make it bigger, but still get everything on one screen.
It didn't work. So, these are all the grants that we got in. It's getting worse, Will. So this is all the grants and earmarks that we applied for and worked with the legislature to get for the town of Grafton in 2021. And can you just scroll down from the bottom? Thanks. The total amount is $823,494. And so that's just with your normal staff going after grants. I think that in 22 and 23, that number will be bigger because I think you'll get more grants on the fire side. We did apply this year for 2 grants, the AFG grant and a SAFER grant. Mike Colleen at the fire department has actually been working on that with our accounting department, so that's a really good step in a direction. But I think we're doing really well in absence of that grant writer position. And we can certainly dive into some of this at another time, but that's my rationale.
Okay.
Of why I would say we could steer away from that.
That's great rationale, but how I would love for people to know this.
So this is what I realized when you were having your goals meeting, is that we have not been doing a very good job of selling what it is that we do all day. Because, you know, we're talking about needing to go after more grants, and we can always go after more grants, absolutely. But just with us doing what we do every day, we've netted the residents $820,000. So how do we do a better job of getting that in front of you folks and getting that in front of the town and talking about this? Look at what we're pulling in, you know, as I think it's important. I think it's really good work that's been done.
Absolutely.
That can come under TA reports though, right? Every time one comes.
Yeah,
in,
it's just a matter of I haven't been, nor have we, not we including the board, but we as a staff been talking about this enough and bringing it up. So we're going to do that more.
Awesome.
Good night.
Um,
So can we make the, I guess, I don't know, increased focus on grants maybe part of, you know, your goals to the department heads?
Mhm.
I'm in favor of the department heads looking after grants in their areas because they already do that. The issue that I've always had with the grant writer position is it's such a like wide variety of grants that we're after, with such different like qualifying criteria and selection criteria, and you know it just strikes me that it makes more sense to devolve that into the department heads. But we've got to make sure that they're on it and that they are aware of those. You know, there's a calendar of grants, local, state, and federal. So there just needs to be a focus on it, I guess. It's something that we should be chasing aggressively, but
and I will tell you that your department heads are.
yeah,
They are very good here at getting money. It's impressive. And one of my favorite things is the senior center, because Barb will send me an email and says, I just got a mini grant for $459, and she's super excited about it.
Yep.
And you know, it's a $70 million budget, and we're talking about $494 or $459. And I'm not saying that $450 is not important. What I'm saying is, your department head is excited to get the town $450. It's not just a drop in the bucket to these people. The people that are working for you are saying, I'm going to claw my way for $450, just like I'm going to claw my way for, you know, $250,000.
It's awesome because
It's really cool.
It adds up.
It
right?
does. It does.
Well, the other thing that you pointed out too is that we've applied for lots of grants that we didn't get either.
Yes.
So they're, you know,
Right.
And if you
there's
go
a long list of,
click
you
on
know,
planning active. So, and this is just something we just started today, but this is what the planning department is working on for grants right now that just haven't hit yet. So we've got complete street stuff we're starting to work on.
Yep.
Community compact information technology grant. You know, I mean, so this is stuff that's in progress that doesn't even hit this list. We're not going to get that $2 million though, so
I was just gonna say
don't.
the MVP is giving
know.
you $2 million.
That's the
Please.
threshold. We haven't gotten that yet, and I don't anticipate we will. But
Yeah.
because I really told Chris, I'm like, here's the problem: you apply for $2 million and you get it. I got to figure out how to get you $500,000 for the match. Which it's a great problem to have, but I still don't need to be doing that right this second.
Now he's gonna get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe, and I'll figure it out if we do. But, anyways, I just wanted to show you that why I would recommend that we don't need to carry on that goal. You want to go back to the colorful list?
Yep.
So, and then the last one is increased community focused events. And so when you look back at your conversation around that, it was a little bit more open-ended. So we kind of took that and ran with it a little bit. Because it was talking about community engagement through events, economic development, and beautification endeavors. And those are kind of diverse topics, right? So we do think that at some point it might be great to maybe create some kind of, we'll call it a subcommittee for lack of a better term. It doesn't have to be a committee or whatever. But it would be good, I think, for the board or representatives to take a ride around with us and look at every park that we have what's there, what's the condition of the things that are there, and then start pushing for replacement or renewal of some of these park assets that you currently already have. You have some really great parks. You've got some parks that could be really great with, some investment, either in additional equipment, replaced equipment, standard beautification stuff. And it would be good, I think, to have some hands-on knowledge of, ownership of that. And I think that would also help us look at other funding sources like CPC dollars or things like that to do some of these playgrounds over. You'll see, I talk about playgrounds all the time. Playgrounds are my thing. I added 4 my last community. I love playgrounds. I love the community aspect. I love the learning aspect of the kids. I love the social aspect of the kids. So I really think that they're important. And I want us to start talking about pocket parks as well when we're talking about community beautification, because Grafton owns all these little weird parcels in these little neighborhoods, and we can do something with these little parcels that beautify the neighborhood and then help that neighborhood out. Resume the Grafton is open for business workshops. So John Allen was having these. He was actually hosting them at Tufts. They were pretty successful. I've gotten feedback from people that I've never met before that say that they went to that and liked it and learned a lot, and then that precipitated some other decision that they made. Again, the LRP process, and that was about where we ended. We ran out of time a little bit, but these are our thoughts on what you're trying to accomplish.
Will you be pushing this out to us so we can get a copy?
Oh yeah. I literally was still typing on this when you guys were walking in. So we've had a heck of a week, and we had to, decorate the door this morning, so we lost a little time there. Big contest this week.
Is that what a door decorating contest?
Yeah, take a walk down. There's some really cool ones. People have really done a good job.
That's fun.
Yeah, there's one with a picture of Paul, the custodian, and he's the Grinch, and it plays the Grinch music all day.
Oh.
It's fun. Everybody's having a great time with it, and I think it's a really good team building thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But we were the last ones that hadn't done anything.
We gotta
so.
get pictures of those on social media.
Yeah, we will. The judging starts on Friday, so we'll get pictures up on Friday.
Who's judging?
I don't know. That was actually a big topic in our office today because nobody knows.
Can we volunteer?
I don't know. I have to reach out to Carrie from Park and Rec. So she's really been spearheading it, and Carrie's really good at doing this, like staff building, team building stuff. So it's been fun.
Put it online. People, the likes.
Okay.
How many more likes you get?
There we go.
Yeah.
Do a poll.
Yeah.
Oh, love
So,
a poll.
just to follow up here, you'll get the copy of these goals out to us, the way you presented them. Thank you for putting that together. Thanks for going over that, and I want to thank the department heads and the staff for their input and feedback based on our session. I really like how this was all condensed down to some actionable components, and I think, going forward, this board can really start beginning to set prioritizations. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there any other questions on the goals review from department head input? All right, let's move on to, next up here, brought to my attention here, the last time this board discussed about engaging in fire chief search services, I asked and I was talking to Evan, and the reason why I wanted this on the board tonight is I just wanted the board and the community to know just where we sit with Badge Quest today, and then the other part of this is what do we want to do in terms of evaluating the candidates. So unfortunately, the assessment center is not something that Badge Quest can just reproduce because they sub that out to another company. So tonight, we just wanted to reiterate, and I'll have Evan just kind of give a feedback on his conversations with Badge Quest about what they would do to, sort of make good on the last search. So do you want to give a background on that?
Yeah, so I did talk to Bob Pomeroy. I've talked to him a number of times since our last search, and Badge Quest will do all of the outreach, advertising, vetting initial candidates, or at least condensing them into a packet for you, or for the committee, hosts the initial interview stuff, give feedback, help with all of the paperwork, all that kind of stuff, as part of the original search, since we didn't collect anybody. The only part that they would need additional funding for is The assessment center, because the assessment center, they pay those chiefs that come in to sit there and do the assessment and all of that stuff. So Bob would look for compensation that way. And then they still have some retainage from us to do the,
Background check.
thank you, background check. So, if we choose to stay that route, it's really just the assessment center that we would be looking to pay for.
So similar cost?
Yep.
6,400?
Yep.
Okay.
Similar cost.
Do we have 6,400 before we even entertain that? Okay.
So just want to get the, board tonight to say, is in favor of going through another assessment center and paying that cost for the next round?
I found that very, very valuable.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, we'll have that come forward again, and I'm sure we'll have to sign some other contract.
I don't know that we will. I think there's language in there to keep us going. We'll just get an invoice for the additional amount.
Okay.
If otherwise, I will definitely bring that back in
Yeah,
front of the
all
board.
right, we'll look at that. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure we don't have not to exceed amount from the motion before.
Oh,
Okay,
that's a good
we
point,
did.
Peter.
I don't think we
was,
did, but we need to go
no,
back
I
and
was
look
not
at that.
thinking about that,
Yep.
but we'll double check it.
Okay.
Good point.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll bring that forward if we have to for January 4th. Okay, we have one set of meeting minutes for November 9th. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes of November 9th
Second.
as presented.
Motion made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes of November 9th as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried unanimous. All right. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So are we definitely not meeting next week? Is that what's happening? We weren't very clear last week, so I just wanted to clear it up this week.
Yeah, we said we would talk, if we had to, we would mention it tonight. But we don't need,
Okay.
need to meet on Tuesday the 21st.
Perfect.
Consider it a day off from Evan.
Yeah. See you next year.
Paid. I'm just kidding. All right, at that point, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move
Someone
we
make it?
adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night, everyone. Thank you.